Today we are going to tie a kind of a sculpinish crayfish pattern, not really resembling anything specific, just using a lot of good materials that move around nice in the water and basically suggest life. So right now I have a small diameter tube and the vise, and when using 6/0 white thread, this section of tube I have is cut to 2 inches long, and I'm going to put a layer of thread onto the tube. So now we're ready for the rear part of the fly, and that's going to include a little ball of ice dubbing. This would be peacock in this case. So I'm just going to spin some of that on my thread. Don't really need dubbing wax or anything. It should stick on there well enough. You just want to make just a little butt with it, little ball, nothing too special. Now right in front of that, I'm going to use a slopping feather. I'm going to strip from one side. The good side's facing me right now, so I'm going to use the left side to strip. And I just want to leave the rear part a little bit more sparse, or not as much material in the back, so the fly will have some taper to it, with most of the bulk being towards the front. Trim the tip off, tie it in on this side. Do some turns of wraps of the schlappen here. It's an olive color. Doesn't have to be a specific olive color, just light, medium, dark, whatever you want. That should do. Zoom in there a little bit for you guys to see a little bit better what's going on. Next, I'm going to add a little bit of Arctic Fox to the mix, just to kind of suggest some tail action, or add a little bit of motion to the fly. Really is what it does. What the fish think it is, I'm not sure, but just want to include that motion into it, and that seems to get their attention, and then they make their mind up whether they want it or not. And this olive color, it doesn't have to match the feather color. It's kind of nice to have different shades. I'm gonna strip some of the underfur out. It's okay if there's a few fibers in there. Lay this on top, and I'm kind of envisioning where the hook's going to be placed in the rear, since part of it's in the vise right now. And that helps me just get the right length for my little Arctic Fox tail. It's going to be propped up by the schlappen right ahead of it there. The next part, I'm going to add my ribbing first, and it's going to be some polar flash, synthetic hackle. And do that on the far side of the tube. Work my way back up front, and then I'm going to get some flat braid. This is a Fireworks, it's called, in a gold pearl. Oops. Get that tied in as well. That'll help bulk up the fibers. Bulk up the body, excuse me. Tie a little half hitch here in the fly. Put around the bobbin holder, hold our thread. We can take that flat braid and wrap it up the tube. That'll give us a nice bright body underneath some of this mess we're going to add in the front. Get that braid tied off with a few turns. Tighten it up a tad. I'll take this polar chenille and just rib this flat braid body with it. Just trying to pull some of these plastic hackles or hackle fibers back to the rear like you would if you're doing a woolly bugger or a little part of an intruder. It's going to just add some more to the translucency, maybe the sliminess of the fly, and add a touch of movement as well. So we'll trim some of that off. Just leave that nice and buggy as is. No need to, trim the fibers. So if I zoom out here, that's where we're at right now. Got this little tail in the back, and it'll pulse around nice in the water, and these hackles will look nice as an inner body. They're not very stiff, so they won't help support the next part, but the hackles will. Zoom in here so you can get a little better idea of what's going on. So next we're going to add a rabbit strip here. And I've already prepared this a little bit on the front here, right at the very tip. Just pluck away some of the fibers so you have some bare skin, or even if some fibers don't pull off completely, it's still something for the thread to grab when you tie it in. And I like to put this right on top so it's in line with the tail right here. Both of them will be parallel. Some real good thread wraps with that, nice and tight. And I'm going to pull the skin back. I'll zoom out for this so you can see it. You can kind of see some of the light box there in the background. Back in a little bit tighter. There we go. Now it looks professional, huh? Alright, I don't want this too long. I'm just kind of fluffing these fibers up so I can see where I want to cut and where the fibers will go out to. So I'm just going to use my scissors as a saw, go back and forth, and it'll cut it, and just like that. That doesn't waste too many fibers. You get nice tips on the end, and keep it nice and clean looking that way. Next we're going to add some mallard flank. This is just almost a tan color, or a dark yellow, or a dark wood duck. So I'm going to prepare this, stroke all the fibers down the other way because I want to tie it in by the tip. Trim off that little bit. Zoom back in here. I'll just tie that in on this near side right now. Just want to stroke this back, pull the fibers back after each turn. It's okay to make this a little more bulky in the front for this one if you want more of the sculpin look. So this will help add just some color to the fly, a little bit more movement. Maybe, you know, a peck fin sort of look, just something for some contrast. A little barring, you know, is always good. And then next we're going to add another piece of schlappen into the mix. And again, we can just tie this guy in by the tip up here. We need to strip one side of the feather or not, because kind of we want the bulk here up in the front. That'll help out, add to the taper of the fly. As you can tell, sometimes these feathers can be a little bit of a pain, but keep taking your time and working with them and pulling them back the way you want them to go. You can get them to do what you want them to do. Alright, so that should suffice. I'll tie this stem off. It's starting to get a little bit thick, a little bit tough to wrap. Probably get a couple turns, but I like what we got going right now. So if I zoom out a bit, you can kind of start getting an idea of what it's looking like. You can bring in a toothbrush and comb some of it in, blend it a little bit, get some of these fibers separated, looking somewhat like what it would like in the real world. And you know, nothing's really ever monotone. You know, obviously all black or all brown, or some flies work, but if you don't have matching colors for this fly with your olives, I think that's better, actually, myself. So now we're going to zoom back into the front here. Oops. Sorry for the blurriness there. That'll be a little better. Now we're just going to take some ice dubbing. This is just an ice dub peacock, and just kind of pulling it apart, getting some of these fibers in line and trying to get a nice sized clump out. So I'm just going to take a big old hunk of it, spread it around the front there. Make a turn, a couple turns, 3 turns. Pull that back a bit. Bring that thread up through it. Just fold it back, and that'll help start to create a funky head on it. And basically, that's pretty much it for this guy. It just gives a a sculpin head to it. Maybe a crayfish in the back, a little of this, a little of that, who knows. But they seem to like it, so at this point I'm going to whip finish it. I'm going to get some glue for it. Seal up that head, make it nice and strong. This is a resin that's actually going to be cured with UV. It's from Deer Creek. This is the fine. I'm just going to put a generous amount on there, let it seep into the front fibers there and the rest of it. Help hold those ice dubbing fibers in there, and even take the bodkin and smear some of it back on there. Put a touch more on. As you can see, I'm not being Mr. Perfect with the application of this. So that's what's nice about tying flies. Sometimes you can be real precise, or you can have at it and let it rip. So here we'll get the torch. Let that harden up a bit. I'll take it out and put a little cone on the front. Put that cone on there. Push it back on there nice and firm. Cut off the tip. Don't want to have too much excess to burn there. That'll not make a nice head. Just want to have just the right amount of plastic on there. I like to hold the fly vertical and use the blue part of the flame there just to touch it and let it melt back. Just a little bit, that's all you need. If you do it too much, you can come back in and use a dubbing needle to open it up a little bit. But that one wasn't too bad. Put it back on the pin here so you can get a better view at it at the vise. If I can get the darn thing in the hole. Well, I guess if your monitor's that thick, you probably shouldn't be fishing it, but anyway. Here's the Turd Wrangler that it's called. So as you can see, it's kind of looks a little crappy, but anyway, it did its damage already this year, so it has some effect on them, and they seem to like it so far. And once you fish it a little bit, you'll see how it kind of blends together a little bit more and gets more of a streamlined shape with a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So thanks for watching. Great fishing, happy swinging, and all that good stuff, and tight lines.